Hey there, welcome back to Mastering Thought. My name's Christina Black, and I'm here with Dr. Mark Waller. Hey, Mark.
How you doing today?
Pretty anxious about our topic today.
Yeah, so the topic is anxiety. That's so funny. I was, that just reminds me of this goofy thing I saw um, on X yesterday. There was a picture of a helicopter rescuing a cow, and it was pulling,
Mm-hmm.
it was flying the cow,
Like
and
like Jurassic Park on
yeah,
the on
so the
the
cow was suspended underneath the helicopter, and the
mm-hmm.
and the caption of the picture was "The stakes are high." Anyway,
Gotta love a good dad joke. Gotta love it. Wordplay
uh,
might make life worth living. I don't
I thought that was
know.
very funny. The stakes are high.
It is good.
Anyway, be that as it may, let me just make a comment about some things I've got in the pipeline, and maybe you can react to these too. Let's see here if I can get. I'm trying to do too many things at once with my computer. But
Mm,
one of the topics that I'm thinking about is infidelity.
mm-hmm.
And the reason why that is an interesting topic is because when you put it into the lion and the unicorn model, you find out that people are involved in infidelity for completely different reasons, whether they're lions or
Hmm.
unicorns.
Interesting. Yeah.
And let's see what else. Passive aggressive behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting, and the dynamic that creates. And again, this is oriented toward the lion and unicorn as well.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is topic that I wanted to explore is the topic of disowned parts. And the
Oh,
disowned,
interesting.
you probably know what that is already. A disowned part is a part of us we don't want to see, so we project it onto other people.
Okay.
And again, that fits into the
Sure.
lion unicorn model.
Yeah.
So those are some
Yeah.
things.
Interesting.
Now, what the irony of us talking about this is that a year from now, somebody will be watching this video and say, "Well, yeah, I see them; they're already posted." So you and I,
Right.
you and I think
Lucky them.
chronologically.
It's kind of like when Netflix became a platform you could stream from, and then all of a sudden you were just destroying every episode of every series that you wanted to get into.
So
So they can,
today,
maybe they'll be serial killers. I don't know, for our channel.
serial killers. All right. So today we're going to talk about anxiety. Now, and we're not there. In my mind, there are three different kinds of anxiety.
Hmm.
And I know when you do body work, there's one in particular that you work with, and that's post-traumatic stress type stuff.
Yeah.
I
Right.
call that untethered anxiety, and there's a reason why I call it
Okay.
untethered anxiety, and we'll get to that when we get to that topic. The other type of, but we're not going to talk about that today.
Okay.
The other type of anxiety we're not going to talk about today is social anxiety, which is
Mm.
very different than standard, everyday, ordinary anxiety,
Okay.
because it has an aspect of being negatively evaluated by other people. And that's a
Hmm.
separate category unto itself.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my
So,
kids has problems with that, and he just started public school this week, and it's sad.
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So the third type of anxiety is just what you might call standard, ordinary, garden variety anxiety, which can be
Hmm.
very bad and lead all the way to panic attacks.
Hmm.
And so that's what we're going to explore today.
Okay.
But I mentioned the post traumatic stress type stuff because I think the body work that you do is something specifically oriented towards that Whereas
Yeah.
some of the things I do with the thought watching and so forth, maybe are not as effective with post-traumatic stress as they could be.
Mhm.
So, but
Mhm.
eventually we'll
Yeah,
get to
they've
that.
done a lot of studies on it. They like even since the 70s, they've been doing studies on craniosacral and PTSD with vets
Right,
and you know
right.
whoever would
And
have
there's another
had it.
topic that I want to talk about that ties all this together, and that's this looming new treatment called psychedelics.
Mhm.
And that is something I definitely want to explore
Yeah.
because it kind of ties into the thought watching in a way, and we'll see how that works. And I'd like to see if we can get some folks on to discuss that.
Mhm. So much cool research coming out now on it and
Tons,
from big names and it's great.
right? So
Yeah.
we'll get to all that, but today we want to talk about just random, everyday guard. It's like somebody works a high stress job and they're on the way to work one day, and halfway to work their head explodes and they just can't go any further, and the anxiety is so bad they just
Mhm.
can't function. That's the kind of
Yeah.
anxiety we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So going into this, I'm going to offer at the end, I'm going to offer a solution to this problem, and it's outlined in my book, Mastering Thought.
Mm.
And so the technique I'm going to teach and share with you, which Christina, you're already very familiar with, comes right out of the book, Mastering Thought.
Mhm.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome.
And you know what it is because you've
Let's
been
dive
through it.
in. Okay,
So
that's true.
I want to introduce you to Maria. She doesn't look anxious, does she?
No, she's not late at all.
So Maria came to me, and she's a young mother of two little boys, and they're good kids. But her anxiety is so bad, you can see she's got her car keys in her hand. She can't. The anxiety is so bad she can't get in the car and drive with her kids to the grocery store anymore. That's how bad this
Mm.
anxiety is.
Mhm.
And so she seeks out counseling. I've got this anxiety, and of course, over time, when people struggle with this, it tends to get worse and worse and worse, and invades more and more and more of their lives.
Like as the pressure builds.
Right. So, early on, maybe it interferes with, little tiny parts of functioning, like not being able to, do day-to-day tasks, and eventually you just can't get in a car and drive anymore. And it just
Mhm.
seems to spin and cycle and whatnot. So
Mm.
I thought it would be interesting, and you're going to be amused by this. So
Okay.
I went to the internet and I researched what various people were saying were good recommended treatments for anxiety.
Mhm.
And I was astonished. Some of it's so ridiculous. So
Mm.
here's what I came up with. These are the top recommendations for overcoming anxiety. Number one, seek professional help. Okay, now this is worth commenting on because if you go try to find professional help for anxiety, what you're typically going to find is talk therapy. And
Mhm.
of course, the question becomes, how does talking about the problem of anxiety solve the problem of anxiety? And the answer is it
Are
doesn't.
you okay?
So if you went to a therapist and you said, I've got this really bad anxiety, and the therapist says, oh, I understand. Oh my God. What, how do you do with that? Deal with it. What are you
Yeah.
going to do?
Yeah.
And you talk about how bad it is, and anyway, you get reassurance that it's going to be better, and that's kind of what talk therapy does.
Okay.
Obviously, obviously not going to solve the problem. I've had lots of people come to me and say, "Well, I've had 5 other therapists before, and it never seemed to help."
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, the next one I found was cognitive behavioral therapy, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Mindfulness and meditation. What I have found is that this does not solve the problem. Matter of fact, people who with Maria's level of anxiety can't do meditation.
Right. They're just too anxious to
Yeah,
calm down.
exactly. They're just too freaked out.
Yeah.
Now, physical activity like going to the gym, working out, does help a little bit.
Yeah.
But in 24 years' experience, I can tell you that it doesn't solve the problem.
Sure.
It helps, but it doesn't really ultimately solve the problem, because the problem has a source, and we're going to talk about that. And the next one is a healthy diet. I've never in my experience had anybody change their diet and conquer their anxiety. It might help,
Well,
but it
so 80% of your serotonin is made in your gut, I believe. And so if your gut's not healthy, then you just can't produce as much serotonin as you could.
so serotonin is like the happy neurotransmitter.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, yeah,
But it
a
doesn't
health,
change your problems, I guess, unless your problem was low serotonin.
right? Well, that's the whole point. A healthy diet is a
Yeah.
very desirable thing, and
Right. Tons of
maybe some
benefits.
supplements will help. Maybe, lots of different things
Yeah.
will help. But
Right.
my experience is once they get to my office, it's so bad that no, this is not
Mm-hmm.
going to solve the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. Well, and I'll say it like healing your gut's not overnight either. It takes months, depending on how bad it was when you started. So,
And let me ask you a question. From your experience, do you find that different people respond to different? They have their body sensations and sensitivities are different from person to person.
yeah, I would say that some people, like if you think of your five senses, you probably relate more to one or two of them than the other, but each sense has plenty of people. So like you try to listen for like, oh, I hear that, or I see that, or I feel that. If they say things like that, they're actually giving you a window into how they relate to things and what they use to observe it.
What I've heard, what I hear from people is, and especially people like you, because you're very body sensitive.
Yeah, for sure.
You might say, well, I have to be really careful with this, or when I tried this, it really helped my mood, or I felt more sharp. For me,
Yeah, and I
none
got
of that
into
stuff
a rough
seems to
one.
have an impact at all. I don't know what it is about me, but I just don't respond.
Yeah. Brett, my husband's like that. If he takes any supplements or anything, he has to take extra because his body doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah,
It just needs more.
right.
Yeah.
I've always kind
Yeah.
of felt left out because, I hear people, people who are into health and so on, they say, well, you got to do this and you got to do that. And when I do it, I experience absolutely no impact whatsoever. I
You
don't
don't
know
get
why.
it. Interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, back to our list.
I'd be curious. Go back to the list.
All right. Next on the list is adequate sleep.
Oh,
Now,
amen.
now this is like an oxymoron for somebody with anxiety, right?
Oh, shoot. Insomnia?
So I've got this person who is just wound up tighter than a drum, and so much they're scared to get in a car and drive. And so
Yeah.
they're gonna go get some advice, and they say, well, you need adequate sleep. And that's absolutely
Mm-hmm.
correct, but it's easier said than done.
For sure. And
And
poor Maria, she's probably got her kids waking up at night and
eh,
everything. So even if
eh,
she's doing all right, she's waking up anyway.
right, so adequate sleep is important. If it becomes important, I always recommend people go to their physician and maybe get a little help to bridge the gap while we're working together. because adequate sleep
Yeah,
is very necessary. But
for
when you're
sure.
anxious, naturally falling asleep is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. And if you're looking for like maybe a little bump at home to help your sleep, like you can do like I think eating a handful of pistachios actually helps you fall asleep. We use lavender oil or melatonin also. Um, yeah, and I like putting solfeggio tones on, so I just tell my home pod like play 84 hertz or whatever, and it will just start playing all these random tones. Anyway, that helps me fall asleep. So,
Yeah. So I think hopefully you'll be beginning to see a pattern here. Number 7, limit alcohol and caffeine. Okay, great.
mm-hmm,
So if I stop drinking coffee, my anxiety is going to go away. No. Might help.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
the caffeine might, make the anxiety a little bit worse. But again, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's just not really going to solve the problem.
Yeah, it's not the answer.
Relaxation techniques. Yeah, this is really, this is more than insulting. So here's Maria. She can barely function. And she's going to come to me and I said, well, what you need is relaxation techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Social
Too little, too
support.
late, maybe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Social support.
Yeah.
So if you have a bunch of friends, you can tell them how anxious you are. They'll say, oh, well, you need to stop being anxious, or whatever social support does.
I'll
Time,
pick up your kids for you.
yeah, there you go. That'll make me listen. All right.
Yeah.
Time management strategies. Oh, really? Tell me, Christina, tell me about your time management strategies.
Poor. They're poor. I could always build them. Poor Mark.
So,
Poor Mark.
see, eventually this just boils down to aimless advice giving. Here's
Mm.
Maria. She's desperate. Set boundaries, whatever that means. If you hear somebody say set boundaries, it means they've seen the wrong therapist, because
Hmm.
setting boundaries is therapist talk. Oh, you need to set
Well,
boundaries.
shoot. Well, okay. Remember that episode where you were helping me not get overwhelmed when my kids came in the room?
Yeah,
So, I mean, that was great. And I haven't struggled with that hardly as much, maybe once or twice. How
right.
sad would that have been if you were just like, tell them not to come into your room? Like, in my family, morning cuddles are very important and sweet. And that would have been the saddest thing ever to miss out on just because
Right.
I set a boundary. Anyway, it's anecdotal, but
Well, see, and what people don't understand is advice giving is not good therapy. Good therapy is not. Oh, honey, you need boundaries. You know, you need a bubble bath. You need more self care. It's no.
yeah, no.
All right, back to our list here. This one I just loved. Avoid procrastination. Oh my God, really? Oh, your problem is
Uh,
you need to avoid. See, they don't even bother telling you where procrastination comes from or what drives procrastination. Just avoid it. It's okay. If you
hmm.
avoid it, you'll be less anxious.
Oh, I want to know where it comes from, but we don't have to change the topic now.
Hobbies and interests. I mean, this is how inane this gets.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell Maria, you need a hobby. Then you'll be able to get back in the car and drive to the grocery store with your kids. No problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then there's exposure therapy. You know what exposure therapy is?
Don't they like keep introducing you to the topic you're afraid of until you stop being afraid of it?
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
so if you're deathly afraid of snakes, you just learn to pet them,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually you won't be afraid
Let
of
them
snakes.
wear them like a feather boa.
And there's a couple more, but last on this list on the right is medication. Now, I'm certainly not opposed to medication to kind of bridge the gap. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, for Maria,
Yeah.
I would strongly recommend she go to her physician, and if she needs to try an anxiety medication, take a half a pill when things get really tough while we're doing our work. That's certainly, but the people who live on the medication and they survive on the medication, no, none of that stuff is very good for you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then
Okay,
here are two.
don't talk smack on 16.
So I just thought, I thought this is so ridiculous. I wanted to put it down there. There's nothing wrong with
Mm-hmm.
aromatherapy. Trust me, I'm not saying that at all. But this woman can't get in the car and drive.
Right.
So all
I
you
will
need to
say this
do,
though.
what?
I will say this because I studied aromatherapy for a long time and it's pretty amazing. But the phytochemicals, so the plant chemicals in them, when your body absorbs them, especially if they're strong and pure, it like breaks apart all the chemicals to send it wherever your body needs it. And so, like, if she's missing something that her body can use to make happy feelings, it will use them and she will feel those feelings in the moment. But it does heal the systems too, but it's not a complete answer. I will say that. It's
Well,
helpful though.
I don't want to take that away from you or anybody else who thinks that's effective. But in this case, it's just not going to be enough soon enough.
Sure, yeah. Right, especially how bad Maria is at. Yeah.
And then there was another one I found. This was literally a therapist online, basically telling people they need to be aware of their anxious thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one problem. They didn't tell you how to be aware of your anxious thoughts.
Sure.
There was
Right.
no method
Right.
given for this person to experience awareness so they could be aware of their thoughts. But that's what we're going to do
Yeah.
today.
I think I think you got something for him.
So you can see, a lot of this stuff is okay stuff, and you never know. I'm sure, like with aromatherapy, you never know when somebody's going to try it and it's going to be the absolute thing that changes their life. I totally understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But
But I also agree with you.
honestly, I'm sure if I suggested some of these things to Maria, this is the kind of reaction I would get.
Mm-hmm. You for real? Yeah. It
Okay.
might give her a moment where she's not thinking about how awful she feels, though. So that's nice.
Yeah, maybe she'd just give her a moment how awful her therapist was. Okay, so I want to go to the next thing here. I want to go back to cognitive behavioral therapy because cognitive behavioral therapy has a track record of being partially helpful. And so let's
Mm-hmm.
go over these three things are the core of CBT. Identify negative patterns, they're talking about negative thought patterns, helps individuals recognize negative thought patterns and behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Challenging beliefs, it encourages questioning and challenging irrational beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So if Maria's driving, what would her irrational belief be? That she's always going to get in an accident or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then
something
be
bad's gonna happen.
right, exactly. And then behavioral techniques. CBT incorporates practical strategies to modify behavior and improve coping skills. Okay, this is all great. Teaching coping skills, wonderful. My experience is it provides a small increment of relief for a short period of time, but it's not the final answer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's really interesting about this is before we started this recording, I told you I was gonna blindside you with a question, and you were
Can't
and
scare
you were
me.
smart. You were smart enough not to let me do that. And so we went to this slide, and I said, "Okay, take a look at this and tell me what's missing." And you picked it out right away. So do you want to tell the listeners
Right.
what it was you saw there that was missing?
They're in behavioral techniques, modified behavior, and improved coping skills.
No,
But
all three
I
of
know
them
that what
in the
you're,
whole thing.
oh, oh, incorporating practical strategies. That's true. I was not thinking of that one though, to be honest.
Well, what
Practical
was the thing when you
strategies.
saw when
Well,
you looked over these
but I
three
would
bullet points?
say, oh, oh yeah, the challenging beliefs part too, because well, I don't want to just straight up give away the answer because I want to give you the opportunity to do it. But the coping and the awareness is good, but it can go a step farther. What they have is the baby version of what you have.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Hmm.
So
So it's cool. There's more
yeah,
for
but
people to be able to
what was
do.
the specific thing you saw that was missing? Do you remember what you said? See,
Well, I
now
had
I'm
said like improve coping skills, but with your method, you're not coping anymore. And it's because you're not believing the irrational belief. You can call it out right away.
right. So when you look at the first one here, CBT helps individuals recognize negative thought patterns. The problem is not negative thought patterns. The problem is thought itself.
Mm-hmm.
We have a
Mm-hmm.
thought problem, not a negative thought problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so that leads me to the next step, or actually the ultimate step, what you're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a concept I call thought disidentification.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is a thought? A thought is the voice in your head that sounds like you talking to you. That is a thought.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
you're driving down the road and you think, what's your dog's name? Molly?
Mine?
Yeah,
Sunny Bunny.
Sunny. I'm sorry. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
driving down the
Yep.
road and you think, I need to get dog food for Sunny, that is not you talking to you. That is a thought.
Mm-hmm.
And so as long as we believe the voice in our head is ourselves, then we're going to be controlled by our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no me in the head that's talking to you. They are only thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And so the
Right.
voice and
Because
so
you're
the
saying
voice go ahead.
it's only you when you're trying to think, right?
No, it's never you.
Really?
The voice in your head is never you.
I'm missing one piece here, and one of these episodes I'm gonna figure it out.
So so let's say you say to you're driving down the road and you say to yourself, I need to stop at the store and get dog food.
Hmm.
Is that you talking to you or is that a thought?
It's a thought.
Exactly. So even intentional thoughts are not a me in the head that's talking to you.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So the voice in your head, when you disidentify, when you completely disidentify, and what does disidentify mean? It means you no longer, when you hear that voice, you no longer think that's you.
Mm-hmm.
You know it's
Right.
only a thought.
Mm-hmm.
So now the distinction we're making here is between intentional thoughts and unintentional thoughts.
Okay.
But even the intentional thoughts are still not a me in the head that's talking.
Hmm. I mean, is it just the same as unintentional thoughts? It's just the parts of your brain churning out thoughts
Yep.
like they're supposed to?
Yeah. It's
Hmm.
the brain is
Just a
generating
machine
English
going.
words in your head.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So, when you say, I think I'd like a latte, you already non-verbally knew that you wanted a latte and then you verbalized it in your head. There was no reason to
Mm-hmm.
verbalize it in your head because that voice in your head is not you. You already knew you wanted a latte.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's like when I look at you on my monitor, I don't have to say to myself, "Oh, that's Christina." The
Mm-hmm.
instant I see you, I non-verbally know that's you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Any words that I say in my head are not helpful in cognizing that this is you.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Right.
unnecessary.
Yeah. So are you saying that more like the feelings you have or the things that you can know without words are more you than your thoughts?
No, feelings are not you either.
Yeah,
See, the
because they're just
question
coming
is,
from thoughts.
are you? That's right. The question is, are you the experience you're having, or are you the
Oh, that's
knower of
right.
the experience?
The knower.
Right.
That's right. It's been a while. Yes. You would say I'm the consciousness watching Christina's life, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And so when we go back to the concept of disidentification, the problem is we identify ourselves as the voice in our head, as our feelings.
Hmm.
We're having feelings,
Hmm.
but we're not made of feelings. We're experiencing thoughts,
Right.
but we're not made of thoughts. What we're made of
Hmm.
is knowing and being the experiencer of our thoughts. And
Hmm.
this is where all the trouble comes in, and this is why Maria is having such a difficult time, because when the thoughts in her head start in on the anxiety, she believes that's her talking.
Hmm.
And so she believes her thoughts.
Yeah. Hmm. And obviously they're not making her very happy.
They're creating anxiety.
Hmm.
So in other words, it looks like this. Thoughts trigger fight or flight, which produces a feeling of anxiety.
Hmm.
And a thought is the voice in your head that sounds like you talking to you.
Hmm.
So now what's the one thing that holds this all together? It's the identification that you are the thinker, that voice is you.
Hmm.
So this belief that you are that voice is what's driving the anxiety. Because
Hmm.
without that belief,
Okay.
none of it works.
Hmm. So is it a default mode network thing? Does anxiety come with that, or is that not related at all?
Yes, the anxiety comes from the limbic system through
Hmm.
the default mode network, because the default mode network is what's producing the voice in your head.
Okay, got it.
So ruminations come from the default mode network, and ruminations that produce anxiety come from the limbic system being triggered.
Say that one more time.
Ruminations come from the default mode network,
Okay.
but ruminations that produce anxiety are because the limbic system has been triggered. Fight or flight. In this case,
Got involved.
flight has been triggered. Flight produces anxiety.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Does freeze introduce anxiety too?
You know what?
Or is
That's not part of my lexicon. I understand
okay.
fight or flight, and I understand there's this concept now. Everybody has a freeze. I don't see it in the literature. I don't see it in the scientific literature.
Oh, okay.
I,
So that's more of like a layman term than necessarily a field word, I guess.
well, let me put it this way. I'm not saying that it's not real. I've done an enormous amount of research on the limbic system, and I don't see
Hmm.
freeze anywhere.
Okay.
But there are certain animals that evidently have a freeze reaction, and this has kind of been integrated into the fight or flight lexicon now. But I don't see it being helpful or needing to be dropped in a bucket somewhere. But I'm open
Sure.
to a discussion about that and changing my view.
Mm-hmm.
To me, freeze is just another form of flight.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
But I'm open to be educated about that.
Mm-hmm.
So you raised an interesting point, and we've gone through a bunch of stuff. Did it clear it up?
It did on me a little bit, but I think we're okay. It kind of stopped.
All right. So now, how do we get out of this? We need to disidentify from the voice in our heads. This is the key to overcoming anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so I developed a number of years ago, a long time ago, a miraculous way of accomplishing this disidentification, and it's the simple thought watching exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what. And it leads to disidentification and the knowledge that the voice in your head is not you. So
Mm-hmm.
let's do the exercise here just a minute, and I know you know how to do this. So all we're doing is we're waiting for the next random thought to appear in our minds. Now we're not trying to solve a problem. We're not trying to worry about anxiety right now. All we're doing is becoming aware that we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So the instant you become aware that you're having a thought, what happens to the voice in your head?
It goes away.
Exactly. It goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've documented this thoroughly in a number of other videos, and I will put a link to one or two of them at the end of this. So, what happens literally, and I'll just summarize it, is when you focus on the voice in your head, you're turning on the task positive network in the brain, which turns off the default mode network, and the voice in your head goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this useful? Because eventually, when you notice the voice go away, you realize, wait a minute, that's not me. I'm still here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you and I are having this conversation, and while we're talking, our thoughts are coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not coming and going. We're
Mm-hmm.
constantly here. So when you do this exercise, you're forcing the voice to go away every time you are aware that it's there, and eventually the light goes on in your head and you realize, holy cow, I'm not the voice in my head. That's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And the disidentification takes place. And generally, I would say 75% of the time, it is a light bulb moment.
Yeah.
You suddenly
Yeah.
just get it.
Pretty much everyone I've talked to that has had it has had a very similar experience to mine. Yeah.
Right.
You start
Now,
saying
some
something or you're going to, and then you realize, I don't believe this. And then boom,
exa-
your
right,
whole reality changes.
right, right. I'll never
Yeah.
forget. I'll never forget this young man. I was working with he and his wife, and he's working really hard in this thought watch. And he goes home from a session, and his wife says to him, "I would like to talk to you." And he immediately hears the voice in his head say, "She's attacking me." And it was the first time ever he felt a separation from that. And he instantly realized that's not true. She loves me. She's not attacking me.
Mm-hmm.
And it broke the spell
Mm-hmm.
and set him free.
Hmm.
So generally, people have an aha moment where they just get it. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not the voice in my head. And then they
Right.
wake up. And it is an awakening experience, which
Hmm.
you have had.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Thank you for the exercise. I really loved every
And
bit of it. Yeah.
and so with Maria, this was a little different. I want to explain what happened.
Okay.
So I'm working with Maria, and we're having a Zoom call, and I'm telling her, okay, Maria, now just wait for the next thought that appears in your mind, and just take a step back and observe it. And every time I give her this instruction, I get this kind of deer in the headlights look.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know if it comes through in this picture or not very well, but. And finally, I look at her and I say, Maria, do you want me to tell you what your next thought was? And she says, please tell me what my next thought was. I have no idea. And I said, your next thought was, what if I don't have a thought?
Hmm.
And her eyes got big, and suddenly it dawned on her what was going on.
Yeah.
Because she'd been thinking all along and hadn't realized that actually was what we were looking for. She was actually
Hmm.
having a thought.
Right.
And when the light
Yeah.
went on and she realized she was having this thought, what if I don't have a thought? She was able to take that step back and wake up. The next week we got together. She was back in the car with the kids going to the grocery store, no problems. Problem solved.
So cool. Yeah. Oh
But it was
man.
all because she was believing the voice in her head.
Hmm.
And then then she realized she wasn't even hearing the voice in her head. It was telling her how to feel, and she didn't even know it was doing that.
Mm.
And so when she saw that, it completely broke the spell, and she woke up. No more
Mm.
anxiety.
Hmm. The limbic system is a cruel master.
Yeah, it is. People don't realize that. And you know who doesn't realize it? Therapists don't realize it. Psychologists don't realize it. Psychiatrists don't realize it. You do not understand the power of the monkey brain over our lives. They don't see how big it is.
Yeah.
It's huge. So how do you wake yourself up out of this trance? By doing this simple thought watching exercise. 2, 3, 4 times a day, you just notice the voice and watch it go away. And
Hmm.
eventually it dawns on you, wait a minute, I'm still here and the voice just went away. That's not who I am. And from that moment on, when that voice speaks, you know that that is not you. And now
Hmm.
you're free. You're free of
Hmm.
thought.
Yeah. Although, so yeah. So this last week, um, typically I don't struggle with that anymore, but I was getting through some old trauma that I didn't realize how much it was affecting me still. And I did totally believe the limbic system for like a few hours. It was like most of the day. And it wasn't until I talked to my husband and I had told him, like, I think you're responsible for this part of it. And he looked at me and he said, that's bull crap. He's like, you know, that's not me. And at first I like, wait, what? And then I thought about it and my other two examples, and I thought, the only person in common with all these scenarios is me. Like,
Yeah.
okay, is it really me? And at that moment, that's when my limbic system, I realized, oh, it's you, you little rascal. Get out of here. You're not allowed to drive the car. Just, yeah. And then yeah, apologized to him because I was being a jerk. But I know better, and it took almost all day and someone calling me out to realize it. So, can you explain that a little bit too?
I think what happens is, and I don't want this to sound just only about me, but if you don't stay in the energy of this teaching on a fairly regular basis, stress will suck you back into unconsciousness.
Okay. Yeah, because it was an insanely stressful week for us.
Right,
So,
right. See,
yeah.
that's funny you say that because the same thing happened to me. I've had 2 or 3 things happen in the last couple weeks that have just
Hmm.
completely freaked me out.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, but I have an advantage. I do this all day long. And so I knew what was happening to
Right.
me.
You stay in the headspace.
Well, yeah, but I was still experiencing these overwhelming emotions. And
Yeah.
eventually I just had to step back and say, okay, I need to understand that I'm completely responsible for this no matter what. And there's something here I'm not seeing that I need to see. And then I just kind of let go of the struggle of it. And then things began to
Mm-hmm.
just sort of unfold on their own. It was, very graceful.
Hmm. How cool. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you had that. Yeah.
But you're right. The two things to say about that. Number one is it's hard to get sucked back in, but you will get sucked back in.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
what's
do
really,
notice that.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, no.
I I do notice that it seems like the awakening had put my ego in this little box. Like, here,
Right,
you get stored over here. And it just seems like my ego keeps trying to climb out of the box. So I have to
right.
kind of be aware of that, even to not go there.
That's interesting you're saying it that way because that was the second thing I was going to bring up. A lot of times when people
Oh.
have this powerful awakening, maybe 2, 3 weeks later or a month later, they have this moment where they completely go back into all the old shit and they have this huge,
Mm-hmm.
enormous reaction. And they think their life is
Mm-hmm.
over. They think they learned something and now they've lost it. And oh my God, they're
Right.
devastated.
Yeah, despair.
Yeah, they're total despair. And they'll come to me and say, my God, what happened? I don't know. And I say, calm down. It's okay because we all relapse.
This is normal.
This is normal. But you can go back to the
Mm-hmm.
principles and go back to awareness. Just go back to the thought
Mm-hmm.
watching exercise and let it bring you back to where you were before.
Mm-hmm. And is that typically only in the beginning, or would you say even if someone had an awakening, 5 years ago, they might still find that there are times they have to revisit thought watching?
Well, the answer to that is both. No, but the
Mhm.
devastation is usually only in the beginning. That
Right. Yeah, because you get it at
Yeah,
some
you
point.
think I've graduated now, I get it. And then when you stumble, you think it's the end of the world. But yeah, then you find,
Mm-hmm.
okay, every now and then I'm going to stumble, and then you just kind
Yeah.
of embrace it.
Yeah. You're
So,
human too. Yeah.
so those of you who want to know a little bit more about this exercise, it's in my book, Mastering Thought Before It Masters You,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Mm-hmm.
what the book is about. Is basically this thought watching exercise,
Mm-hmm. With some
and
examples.
you might Christina, just encourage people to reach out to us if they want to work through this with us.
Right. Yeah, we're floating around some ideas about maybe creating some kind of a group that can meet for a few weeks and just kind of mulling it over. So if any of you have any suggestions, it would be a Zoom meeting or some sort of computer meeting. But yeah, and if you have any questions, comments, thoughts that you'd like to share with us, Mark has our emails here on a lovely little slide.
Let me put them up here.
There they are.
Yeah, feel free
And
to
so
reach
go ahead
out
and
to
shoot
us.
us a line.
Yep.
Yep. And please reach out in the comments too if you have any questions or want to share your experience. We love that. We are so happy to be sharing this information with people. And the whole point is so that we can make your life better. So puts a little more gas in our tank when you do that.
And
And
so
yeah.
what my motivation is I've been at this for a long time and I've discovered these principles. And after a long time of soul searching, I decided I wanted to leave it all on the field before whatever the next thing is. And so, I don't think about getting millions of followers. I really think about getting a handful of people on here that want to work on themselves and use these tools to make a better life. And that's what we're trying to do.
Hmm.
The
Yep.
millions
So
of
please
followers,
share.
they're watching the guy on the skateboard. I don't know.
So yeah, if you have any friends with anxiety or people in their family that struggle with it, send them this video today. We would love to
Great
hear
idea.
back about it too. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, is that it for today?
That's it.
Awesome. It was lovely sharing this time with you, Mark, and everybody. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye bye.